The NFL draft is only about 2 weeks away, and there are some rumors about ASU players and where they land that are just absolutely crazy.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Sun Devils. My name is Philip Mulford. We got Parker Porrill right over there. And today, the draft rapidly approaching. Jordyn Tyson, despite his athleticism, how good he has been, we're hearing some rumors that should not make Sun Devil fans all that happy, plus other draft things that are happening. Also, transfer portal. If you're watching this the day it opens today. We got some priorities for you. And then, of course, baseball continues to impress. But Parker, I want to start with the draft. Yeah, we're going to talk about Iheanachor in a little bit, but Jordyn Tyson, the odds-on at the start of this year, start of the last football season, best wide receiver in the entire draft class. I'm now hearing rumors that he might even fall to day 2.
Yeah, that's been a serious concern because obviously me and you, Phil, we know the talent that Jordyn Tyson has. When he's on the football field and when he's healthy, he's the best wide receiver in college. No question about it. But the big question is can he be healthy? He's already had his struggles injury-wise when it comes to playing a college season. Imagine playing an NFL season. That's the concern that a lot of NFL programs have right now. And I'm not saying that teams should pass up on Jordyn Tyson. Jordyn Tyson should be a top 10 pick based on talent alone. That's my perspective on it. But I get the team's hesitancy to not draft him. I think second round, there is a nightmare scenario where that happens for Tyson, just because a lot of teams are nervous when it comes to injury concerns. But you can't tell me that there's a team out there that would see Jordyn Tyson available at even pick 20 and not trade up to get him. Because you're talking about a guy that is seen as a top 10 talent in the NFL draft that wouldn't immediately jump at the chance to get him.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we're hearing these pundits talk about, oh, he's going to fall to day 2, the injury concerns, the hamstring. Well, okay, sure. Let's talk about his injuries, right? Clavicle, that's a football thing. Sometimes someone's going to hit you. You're going to land wrong. It's going to break a bone. Not a lot you can do about that. You know, the hamstring bugged him. Yeah, we can't ignore that. But I think we have to take this in the context of ASU season last year, which was there anyone that didn't have a significant injury? And I don't want to say that this is, I'm not trying to go and like punch down on our strength and conditioning team, our nutrition team, anything like that. But there was something that was clearly suboptimal last year, right? When you just look at the scope of all the injuries that was happening, people getting strains that were lasting the entire year, soft tissue injuries. I would have to think that a NFL team, maybe they're not going to take him as the first wide receiver in the draft. Okay, fine. He moved down a little bit. But given that context in particular, you would have to think they're going to look at this guy and they say, look, we got a top tier nutrition program. We got top tier physical people. We got top tier strength and conditioning. If it's just the occasional soft tissue injury, we can do better than ASU did. And again, I'm not punching down on ASU on Iron Devils, but that has to be some of the kind of what these teams I would think would be thinking, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of teams are thinking. And a team that takes a risk on them, you have to understand that as many times as we see guys that get injury that are injury ridden throughout their college careers that just don't make it in the NFL, there's also the stories of guys that get injured all throughout college and then shock the world in the NFL. And that's because they put on the extra pounds, they get in that NFL conditioning. And Jordyn Tyson, we've seen at practice and we've seen throughout his college career, he's the guy who puts in the work. An NFL program that reaches out to him and is like, hey, these are the steps that you got to do. He's going to do them, and he's going to do them tenfold. And so there's no doubt in my mind that if they're questioning whether or not he will get in the proper conditioning so that he is less likely to get injured, that he's going to do it. One of my bigger questions, though, that I have is what wide receiver, when is he selected in the NFL draft? Because right now, he is selected. Mel Kiper has him as going 13th in a trade from the Rams would take him at 13, traded with Atlanta, and first round not a top 10 pick, which is, a big question mark. But I've also seen the NFL or the ESPN has him as the second wide receiver selected and the second best overall wide receiver, right behind Mekhi Lemon. And I've even seen some outlets have Lemon and Carnell Tate of Ohio State ahead of Jordyn Tyson, the third wide receiver selected in the draft. And if you'd have told me that at the start of this process, I would have been a little shocked, just because it seemed like Jordyn Tyson was seen as the best wide receiver, the number one wide receiver in this draft. But all of a sudden, there are some places that have him as the third wide receiver selected. So I'm just a little confused here, Phil.
I think part of it is you kind of look at these top 3 wide receivers, and they're all like Carnell Tate is incredible, and he didn't have injury concerns really with Ohio State this last year. Mekhi Lemon was incredible at USC, and Tyson was as well, but with nagging injury concerns, it really is a question of who do you think has the strongest upside, right? And it's not even that. Like, yes, okay, I say it's a question of who has the strongest upside. It's also a question of what does your team need, right? If you are the Cleveland Browns, which is where I want to say Zerline, if you look at the NFL.com, there are 5 or 6 different mock drafts. You look at him, then they're like, okay, it's going to go to the Browns, right? The Browns need a wide receiver. They'll take him at 22. Well, how do you fall down? Who needs that wide receiver? Who's willing to kind of let a questionable guy? It's like, okay, we might regret this, but we have some other position elsewhere. And I don't know, right? That is a difficult question for the GMs to find, but it is why we're seeing some of this extreme variation, right? About it kind of 1, 2, 3, where exactly do you want to go?
And Phil, I have another question for you. Try and get your bias a little bit aside with being a Commanders fan. Where do you think Tyson lands? What do you think is the best place for him? And then where do you think he lands in this draft?
Okay. I mean, best place in the draft is as high as you can possibly get, right? Get yourself that signing bonus. Although the downside of that is maybe you're playing for a team that is not as good, and it takes a little bit longer to develop. Who knows how that's going to work? But I look at 2 teams, one of which it'd be great to see him paired with Daniels. That'd be a ton of fun to go to the Commanders. But I just look at the Giants, man. I mean, I think they're building something really special. They got a new head coach this year. He'd go and relink up with Scatterbo, and we know the damage they did, right, with on our team. Right. He's got a good young quarterback. He'd be playing with a good young quarterback, and playing like a strong young core of players is always nice. Like when you got an older team, there's a lot of experience there. But if you're trying to go and build something, which I think the Giants are, again, they're number 5 pick in the draft. They didn't have a great year last year. Coming into that building process, it gives you immediate starting time potential. It gives you an immediate opportunity to make impact and grow with the team. So I would not mind, as much as this pains me to say as a Commanders fan, I would not mind seeing him go on over to the Giants. I think that would work out pretty well for him.
I think there's a lot of fans that would agree with that. I think the Titans, for a similar reason, they have a young quarterback, a lot more reps for Jordyn Tyson. If they want to take a risk on him at 4, or if the Titans trade back, I think the Titans could be another good landing spot for him. The Browns, as we mentioned. But I really think at 8, New Orleans Saints. We talk about a team that really fell short of the playoffs last season, just kind of fell short despite getting better and better with each week ever since they started Chuck. I think that's a team that could be poised to take a jump in a weak NFC South. And I think Jordyn Tyson could have a bid for NFL Rookie of the Year if Chuck has the developments that a lot of people think that he's going to take in the next year. And I think New Orleans is a good fit for him. But I know a lot of fans want to see him in Cleveland because that's where his brother plays professional basketball.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All right. Seeing him all these, I don't know how much impact that would actually have, but it would be fun. All right. But I do want to go in the last minute we have here talking about the draft, because we spent a lot of time talking about Tyson. There's the news. Iheanachor also maybe first day, maybe second day. Hopefully he gets first day. I'm seeing kind of reports that he might go, or projections that he might end up like with the 49ers. They have a tackle spot open. He can probably have immediate impact there. But I want to talk about Abney. Last 30 seconds here, Parker. Hearing rumors that he's been pretty quietly moving up the draft charts.
Yeah, there's been a lot of projections of him going up. ESPN with Mel Kiper has him at pick 70 to the Cleveland Browns, so dropping a little bit. But a lot of the rumblings that I've heard is when it comes to defensive back room, he is quietly moving up and could potentially be seen as a guy that some teams reach for. Right now, he's the 10th defensive back according to ESPN, and there are a lot of quality talents above him. But the main reports that I've been seeing is that this is such a deep defensive back room this season in the NFL draft. There's a lot of guys that are around the same level that it's really hard to predict which one will go where. So we could easily see the third defensive back off the board be Keith Abney, who is ranked around the 10 range in a lot of people's prospect rankings. So we could easily see early second day Keith Abney, a team making a reach on him if the right rumbling, if the fits, if Keith Abney interviewed well, could easily see that happening.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's also really a function of Keith Abney has been networking his butt off, right? I can't speak to all the other prospects because, we are a lot tuned into ASU here, but you're hearing he's organizing the independent meetings. He is going to these different facilities. He's making a case for himself and saying, look, I am better than my ranking is. You will not be disappointed. And from what I'm hearing, some of these teams, I think it's like the 49ers, the Cardinals, I want to say are the teams that I've kind of heard more. I'm like, they've been pretty impressed. So we're going to have to see how much it matters, not what you know, but who you know. Or in this case, maybe not your physical characteristics, but how well can you talk about it? We're going to have to see how that one pays out. Of course, we'll be paying more attention as things follow up. But for now, we got to talk about the transfer portal in basketball because it starts today. There's some key priorities that we need to solve.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. The NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament Elite Eight wrapped up with the UConn Huskies staying undefeated at 38-0 after a decisive win over Notre Dame, while the UCLA Bruins rallied past Duke behind a dominant second half performance. On the other side, the remaining 1 seeds in South Carolina and Texas will be determined after their matchups against TCU and Michigan, respectively. Next up, the Final Four is set for Friday in Phoenix, with the winners advancing to the national championship on Sunday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda.
If you've been joining us every single morning, first of all, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. But also, make sure you go check out the Everydayer Club, lockedonsundevils.supercast.com. You get ad-free listening. You get access to a members-only Discord where we're all talking about a whole host of stuff. Right now, a lot of chatter about the potential UNC hire, which may or may not be confirmed by the time you listen to this. But at the time right now, unconfirmed. Also, if you go listen to us on YouTube, hey, look, if you're on podcast, please go hit the subscribe button as well. But if you listen to us on YouTube, hit the sub button, like the video, really helps us get the word out about how awesome ASU sports is. And let me know how you feel about Tyson falling in the draft. Is it warranted? Because to my ear, this injury concern is kind of nothing, and the dude is way too talented. But Parker, talking about basketball now. Draft starts, or not draft, transfer portal opens today. Still don't know, as we are recording this, still don't know who is moving out from ASU for the most part. The big ticket items, don't know if Jop's moving on or not. But what are if you had to pick 3 big priorities that we want to see Randy Bennett really secure out of this draft, well, what are we looking at?
Well, my biggest question marks is A, who's going to stay? And then Randy Bennett's going to know who needs to go where and what position he needs most. Because right now, ASU only has 3 players in the portal, 2 forwards and a point guard. But the bright side, at least, with the 3 people that are projected to be in the portal, Cash Polk, Adante Holloman, and Marcus Adams Jr., 2 of them are seniors. So that means you only need 1 youngin to really come in. Cash Polk, a lot of players were, or fans, I should say, were sad to see him go because he was kind of seen as the future in a way. He was a freshman from Texas. He had a lot of upside, 3-star. So a lot of fans were upset to see him go. So in my mind, the biggest need for Randy Bennett is to, now you have room to get 2 more seniors, 2 more veteran guys if you're in win now mode. But you also have to secure the future. You also have to show fans, hey, I'm here for a long time. I'm here to build. I'm going to go get a hot name freshman. And there are plenty of freshmen that have already put their names out in the portal. We were talking about before we got on the call. There are just so many big time names this cycle that have already put their names in the portal.
And, we've been just spending a lot of time talking about the St. Mary's guys, three, 4 guys with two plus years of eligibility that hopefully we're going to get a couple of them. All right. Marauskis is in there. Mikey, not Keen. That's our Mikey Keen is a quarterback. But, anyways, we got these guys, but I want to put a bug in your ear, Parker, about people coming from about a guy coming from Cal Baptist. Because that is one of the benefits. We talked about, is Rick Croy going to help us with international or whatever? He was a head coach of a team that made the NCAA tournament last year. And breaking, I believe today, breaking yesterday, came out that his center, the guy that dropped 22 points on us when ASU played Cal Baptist last year, the guy by the name of Bradley Iheanachor is entering the portal. And I got to assume that is because, we know it's because Coach Croy is leaving, but he was pretty successful at Cal Baptist. So I got to assume that has some bearing on ASU maybe picking up a backup center behind Jop, if Jop stays,
Yeah, 7 foot, 240 pounds, and I'll do you one better, Phil. Forget his coach going to ASU. He's from Glendale, Arizona. So he who knows? You see a lot of guys. Obviously, California's not that far, little day drive, but you see a lot of guys who try to go to a different school and then make a name for themselves or want to head back home, and they end up going back to an Arizona school. The team down south experiences it, NAU experiences it, and ASU sees plenty of guys that go to Texas schools, California schools, and then transfer back to ASU. And Iheanachor could be that next name. And I expect there to be a couple more Cal Baptist guys that do enter that portal. I did hear he had a lot of people want to stay just because of the way that he left. It was one thing if he was leaving for a head coaching job, but leaving for an assistant job, there's a little less security in I'm going to go play for this coach. Does he have enough say to get me a starting job? That's like just hearsay, but it is a concern because entering the portal, especially when you're at those smaller schools, it is a big risk because you have a secure spot, you enter the portal, it's now your responsibility to find a new home. And what if nobody wants you? So that is a concern for a lot of these Cal Baptist guys. Not that Iheanacho's in that situation at all. He will find a home. He's too good of a player not to. But I wouldn't expect too many Cal Baptist guys to make that jump. I would expect a lot more St. Mary's guys, maybe even a couple of LSU names. I know we were talking about yesterday the potential new assistant coming in from LSU that hasn't been confirmed, so that there are a lot of moving pieces right now. And I'm really shocked we haven't seen more staff names get inked down and finally have a concrete, okay, this guy's doing this guy's doing this. There's just so much unknown as how this is going to work.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's going to be interesting. You don't really know. You talk about people entering the transfer portal, leaving the transfer portal, because with these assistant coaches moving around. Curtis Givens from LSU entered the transfer portal. No, I'm sorry, that was 2025. My bad. So I haven't really seen a ton of news about transfer portals leaving LSU. That is something to pay attention to. But if I had to go and list my big priorities, right, for ASU basketball out of this transfer portal, I want to keep Jop. If at all possible, I want to keep Jop. He has so much upside, and I think he would flourish under the type of game that Randy Bennett's developing. This very defensive style. He's got the chops for it. I really want us to see. I would love to see us take Marauskis. He's seen as the number 2 player in the portal. He comes from SMC. He comes from St. Mary's. He's got the Bennett connection. His assistant coach is moving over as well. I think he'd be very solid. And then it might be overloading on the big guys, but I'd love to see us get Iheanachor. He looked great when he played ASU. I think, again, he's got a lot of presence. He does have that Coach Croy connection. And if we got those 3 guys out of the portal and then filled up, maybe I'm a little worried about the guards at that point because I've mentioned 3 guys that are not guards. But if we can do that, I think we're probably in a pretty good spot off day one of the portal.
Yeah, I think if you can get one of those guys, any big time recruits would be massive because you have to understand the situation that Bennett's in. This is a ASU program that has felt stagnant for the past couple
Mhm.
of years. It has big moments. Took down Kansas, took down Texas Tech, and you get Jaden Quaintance a couple of years ago, a big name recruit. But when you get those big name guys, it it really lights a fire and gets there to be hype and anticipation. And that's something that ASU hasn't had sustainably over the past couple years. And so to start off your tenure at ASU with, hey, I got a big name portal guy. I know Morauskas was at St. Mary's, so it's a little different. But if you can go out there and you can get one of the top 5 transfer recruits, and according to some outlets, that would be massive, massive to start off your time in Tempe.
And that would be, and it's not only is it just massive for excitement, it means you're probably gonna have a pretty good product. Now, sometimes you get unlucky. You talk about Quaintance. He has not played really for Kentucky either. So
No.
sometimes you get a highly profiled guy and he just doesn't work out for anyone. It is what it is. But if we get these couple guys, maybe we get Mikey Lewis as well. All right, get a guard in there. I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot. But talk about teams that are already in really good spots. ASU baseball not punished for losing a game to Arizona, moving straight up in the polls.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The tournament is here, one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets. It's nonstop action from tip to final cut down. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. You can mix it up however you want. Game picks, futures, or even same game parlays for bigger potential payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new. Different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in on the action.
So ASU baseball ranked number 20 in the country by the rankings that matter after this past week of games. Parker, we're going to start with a big question. All right, assuming we continue to do this, assuming Landon Harrison continue to be great, new Contrades, all that. What do we need to do to host a game? Like to have a regional? How far away are we?
I think it's a realistic expectation. It relies, I will say, the regular season, you got some tough series coming up. I mean, you play UNLV at a midweek game. UNLV was a team that almost beat ASU. You got to win that one. And then you play the team down south again. But let's talk about the road series to finish the year. At BYU, a great baseball team in the Big 12. And then at UCF, who led the Big 12 at some point early on in the standings. And then to end the year, you got at Houston, another solid baseball team. Those are 3 tough road series to end the season. You got to win all 3 of those. Obviously, best case scenario, you win the rest of the Big 12 series to end the season, but you got to start with on the road and you got to start with road dominance. But regardless of how this regular season unfolds, I wouldn't say regardless, you still got to perform above average, win a majority of the series to end the season when it comes to conference opponents. Postseason is going to be massive. That Big 12 tournament that's going to be in Surprise, Arizona, you got to have a big swath, a big run in that tournament. And that's something that ASU has struggled with in the past couple seasons, is really having a deep drive into the Big 12 tournament. And a big way to help that is start getting momentum. They need to start looking good and start looking really good and start having a couple of winning streaks heading into May and heading into that Big 12 tournament. And ASU, ever since that winning streak that we saw from the TCU series to the midway through Kansas State, it's been a little shaky, been a little up and down, but not to say they have been bad. It's just they haven't pieced together, oh, here's a sweep. All right, we swept this midweek. We're looking comfortable. They're getting wins, but getting comfortable has been a big struggle for this ASU squad.
And there's the other problem in that the Big 12 is not seen as an incredibly deep conference for baseball this year. Like, yes, there are 4 teams sitting in there right now, but highest ranked Big 12 team is UCF. sitting there at number 17. And by the way, I said ASU's 19, 20. We're at 19. Baseball America writers. That's a big cluster, Big 12 teams, like from 17 to 20 or so, but no one's above that. Which means that even if you do go and like, okay, there's 16 regionals, right, for college baseball World Series. If you're not beating one of the top 16 teams, even if you win out the rest of the year, which, you know, I can see us winning every series from here on out. Road games are hard, but we're like, Harrison is a monster. Talk about Contrades, talk about our pitching staff, at least our starters starting to look a little bit better. Even if we do all that, I mean, it does rely a little bit here, Parker, on the people above us starting to falter a little bit, which, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, but the good news is for ASU is we talk about how great this Big 12 conference is. It's also a little bit of a blessing that the Big 12 is not as respected by D1 Baseball and Baseball America, those ranking and The Athletic. Not to say that they outwardly disrespect them, but there's a lot more of leaning towards the SEC, ACC. They have some good teams. Ranking baseball is hard. It is really hard. But either way, getting back to my point, there's only 2 teams in the Big 12 that are ranked higher than ASU, UCF and West Virginia. You already played West Virginia. You run ruled them once. You lost the series, but you did run rule them. And then you got 3 games against UCF. I mean, in my mind, there's only 2 teams that you have to leapfrog. If you can win the series against UCF and hope that West Virginia drops a couple series in between now and then, you could be looking at ASU hosting.
Yeah, I hear you. My worry is just you talk about how important the Big 12 tournament is for all of this.
Mm-hmm.
The argument there is, okay, look, ASU won the Big 12, assuming we do, right? This is not a guarantee. Baseball is a tough game. Even in an extended series, not easy to win one of those. Not easy to win multiples of those back to back to back. But even if we do, okay, they're going to say, okay, you beat the number 18 and 17 team to get there, right? That was your run. 16 team gets to regionals. Why should you get in over someone that was ranked higher starting this? You know, maybe some team loses to the number 1 team in the country. Oh, okay, well, you know, that's whatever, right? I'm not saying it's impossible, but it does. I can see an argument to why, even if we do win out the rest of the year, I can see this argument that we would, just because the ranking of everyone in the Big 12 is pretty low. I can see an argument for why we'd be left out in the cold just a little bit.
I can see that. I could see an argument. I think a lot of it will also come to be, hey, ASU played their schedule. That they'll point to the tough roads and be like, hey, this team, they had to play, I believe it was at one point 9 games in 11 days earlier this season. That this is one of the most unique college baseball schedules in the country. Just out of the amount of games that they've had to play in as quick of time that they had to play, especially midway through the season. I think a lot of pollsters will look at that. But getting back, I also think that hosting is important for Arizona State. But at the same time, just getting to that regional and getting a good seed in those regionals would be huge. Would be huge because 2 teams move on. And that is something that ASU needs to be in a good spot for, especially with how they've fared in postseason situations these past couple seasons.
Yeah. I do have a lot of faith. Well, we'll see. But I feel like I got some faith in Willie to start to turn this around a little bit. I feel like, yeah, you know, last year, a little bit of a disappointment, but you live, you learn, you improve, you move on. And I think we have seen a decent amount of improvement in the way that Willie's been managing the team this year. That second game versus Arizona notwithstanding. But, I mean, sometimes your relievers fall apart and 7 runs in an inning. Maybe you should have pulled some guys earlier. But, you know, it is what it is. I think it's going to be a good spot. It's exciting. That is certainly true to see ASU baseball back, at least in the conversation, for being one of the better teams in the country, because there were a couple of years where that was not the case. So we may not be back to winning College World Series just yet, but we are back to being a force in college baseball and a product, and MLBU in some ways. I mean, Landon Harrison is surely his draft stock's increasing. For now, though, that is it here today. Tomorrow, transfer portal is going to be wide open. I'm sure there are going to be some big moves. We're going to be talking about that. Plus, spring practice, another day. more things. Hopefully the defense starts to step up a little bit because the offense has been dominating thus far. But if you've been watching us here on YouTube, we're going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 Locked On College Sports national channel so you can see everything that's happening around the world of college sports. And if you're listening, make sure your second listen is Locked On College Basketball, because I'm sure they got a great recap of the national championship that happened last night. And I'm hoping it's good, because as the time we're recording, hasn't happened yet, but you get the point. Anyways, for now though, we will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.